Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hope you're both doing well. Hope both doing well. Hope you're all doing well. It's good to say both doing well. I say that on my calls all the time, but I hope everyone's doing well. So I decided to create this episode this week for actually quite a really important topic. So if you're in Northern Ireland, schools are all out for summer at the moment. That's my microphone. Schools are all out for summer, and the biggest thing women typically will do, because it's so common and I see it all the time. We talked about it a bit last week on the podcast, where it's like women are so used to not prioritizing themselves, whether it's societal pressures, whether it's just how they've been raised, whether it's just how they view themselves. There's so many different reasons why. That's another topic entirely. But women are so used to appeasing and pleasing people and making sure everyone else is okay and looking after others before themselves, whether it's the family, whether it's the kids, whether it's the parents, whether it's the people at work, the friends. My partner does it as well. Like she has so much time for everyone else, and the hardest person she is on herself. And I can imagine you guys relate with this. So today's episode is school's out, time's tight, so here's what to do. Because a lot of you now have no childcare. And if you do have childcare, you have to then do the drop-offs, the pickups, and everything in between, while still doing the added summer schemes and all the other bits and bobs. And even if you aren't even doing a shred of what this is doing, right, you still are going to be busy because you don't have all that freedom you had yourself. Do you know when the kids drops off and you had that 9 till 3? Yes, mate. But just before I kind of crack on with today's episode, I just want to say thank you for everyone on the last week's episode, because that was my first guest since reviving the podcast, and I've got an idea for another one or two guests in the future, because I was actually, if you saw my stories yesterday, I was actually speaking to another coach yesterday. I'd really love to get him on personally, because he was really, really interested in that. It's the first coach I've spoken to in 5 years plus where he agreed with my views on the standards of fitness, because I really disagree with the standards of fitness. That I don't believe it's this bodybuilding photo shoot, photo shoot prep shit. I really don't believe in that. I think that is so far removed from what everyone listening to this should be thinking about. If you're in your late 30s into your 40s particularly, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, I'm struggling to get in shape, why the fuck are you thinking about photo shoot prep? About to turn 30. I'm in good enough shape. I could do it. I still don't want to do it. And that's sort of the reality of this. I don't want to do it. So that's another rant for another day. So I've got another guest that I'm thinking of, and there's another one I'm thinking of on top of that. I've asked a few clients potentially to come on to share their stories, because again, sometimes I realize it's better come from, for like a better phrase, the phrase that it come from the horse's mouth itself, or whatever it is. Because I can tell you what they say, but it's easy to believe when a woman comes on here who's lived the experience of being coached by myself and what she's been through to explain how she physically felt. It's going to be real. And I hope when they do come on, it really does land with you. That's one of the things. I just want to say thank you for last week's episode. It's one of the most viewed episodes I've had in a long while. People are reaching out on different platforms from Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So I'm loving the fact that the cross reach is really helping everyone to do what they need to do. And that's really, really helpful. There was a point I wanted to make here. So we get going essentially. So what you got forward to, I guess what you got to look forward to in this episode is, we're thinking about that mentality towards September, that I'll start again in September. And we're trying to cut this out because you've got 2 full months. That's 60 days nearly of being able to still take action and make progress, okay? It doesn't need to be your perfect 3-4 days a week that you had of freedom when the kids were at school. It can just be 1 to 2 days a week, a little bit of smart thinking to have these sessions crafted. So in this podcast today, what I'm actually going to do is to kind of teach us. I'm going to tell you about a story of a client who I spoke to on Monday, because she lived this experience here. I'm going to give you 4 training strategies, training templates, okay? 4 templates you can take away today and use tomorrow, or today, if you listen to this today. You can use them straight away if you have, let's say, under 35 minutes to train, okay? Including your warm-up, the exercise themselves, and that's it. Because 1, they've been used to my clients who are time-strapped, and 2, I've used them before. So much so that before this episode, one of the methods I'm talking about, which is called EDT, I made a video on this 5 years ago. And I explained it, and it was one of the best videos I made, because the clients at the time when I was living in Liverpool, they were like, that's brilliant. Whenever I have no time or I'm strapped, I can use that. And that's exactly what it was designed for. So that's one thing. And then if you listen to the very end, there's a chance to get £50 off my next 6-week challenge. And I'm only doing it for people listening to my podcast because you clearly are interested if you're listening to this. So where should I start? So if you're the type of person that every year when school hits out, basically you come last, your gym goes out the window, your food goes out the window, you barely have time to eat, you barely have time to train, you go, what's the point? You wait till September and you start in this loop every time, every year. And then September is just a run up to Christmas where you're chasing your tail because you got to be Christmas ready. Fair enough. There's a new way of doing this. And I'm going to start with a client story of my client, Kirsty. So she's actually my longest I say serving client. That sounds like she's in prison. She's my longest client. She's been with me just under 2 years now. Like literally September coming, she'll be almost 2 years. She was on my first Christmas challenge that I did. It was a 12-week challenge I used to do way back in the day. And she's been with me since then. So she started off fully online. With me, and we do, again, I've explained my online training a bit, but essentially she would basically get a customized training plan where she did 3 to 4 days a week. We'd do her nutritional stuff. So she lost, I think it was 12 kilos in 12 weeks back at that time. Very aggressively she did it, but she did it whilst managing to maintain her life and her family. So she's been with me since then, but recently, of the last, I want to say 3 to 4 months, might have been longer, she's been with me one-to-one, face-to-face as well. I do some limited face-to-face coaching. I do a couple of small group sessions, and I do limited one-to-one face-to-face sessions. The reason being is I don't have the time to do it as much anymore. I really do enjoy it, but again, I have a very small list. I've actually only got one slot left on the Thursday actually at 9:30. So if you're local to my area and you're interested, give me a shout, and I can set you up with that one. Essentially, she texted me on Friday. She's like, Callum, look, the kids are out of school and I can't make that one-to-one session anymore. She's got no childcare because her husband's still at work. So she can't do the one-to-one. And she could have quit, but she took control of this because she's been with me long enough. So she's kind of read the book and she knew that she could just switch back to the one-to-one. So I was like, so the online training. So I was like, you know what? Perfect idea there. Let's go with that. To make this the smoothest transition possible, but also to grip it quite politely by the balls and make the most of this opportunity. Because most people, when they go from in-person to online, they're like, I'm losing a bit of quality here. I'm not seeing them, blah, blah, blah. No, I was determined to make this an opportunity because it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to take control, refocus, regain focus on what you haven't been doing over the last few while. Because Kirsty's had a very hectic life. She's had some hip problems. She's had some personal stuff in her life. She's been struggling with some health factors. It's been hard to kind of do weight loss focus because actually her body's been kicking her ass. And so we've just been focused on making her feel good. That's been the whole purpose of this. So she could have quit and said it's not the point. But when we jumped on the call on Monday, just passed, we was on the phone for about 30 minutes. And it's actually really, really simple. And the reason I do this is because, and I do this, I've got another call actually today with 2 clients who have just come back from Canada. The whole point of this is that I get them on the call, 1, because it's easier, 2, a conversation solves a problem far quicker. And I don't know many coaches that rely on that quality of service to deliver something. It's usually a couple of texts and WhatsApps and stuff like that. No, get on the fucking phone. It solves the problem. It's more customizable and we get to actually know each other. Imagine that, having a relationship with your client and actually knowing your coach more than beyond what you do out coaching. I swear we're like therapists to each other at times. So we jumped on the phone anyway, and essentially I said to her, I was like, what do you want to do for the next period? Okay, so I do 8-week programs typically for people. It gives the best amount of time to progress, and then also keeps it fresh enough as well. That seems to be the sweet spot, and it seems to be works well for my clients. We basically did, how many days do you want to do? And she was like, I'm going to do my 3 days a week. And then she has a little bonus session with her friend Valerie on the weekend where they just have a bit of a chit chat. So it's more of a, what do we want to do? A bit of a chit chat, a social session, I call it. So we built a session, 3 sessions a week. So we're going to go full body. She's not a massive fan of cardio. I sneak little bits in here and there, but not big parts of it. So I look after her a wee bit, but it's like, right, what exercises do you want to do or have you done? And because she's had a lot of injuries recently, we kind of dialed in a few things. So I was like, right, the warm-ups are the most essential for you. These 2 bits here, 2 exercises every session to make your hips feel better, to make your shoulders feel better. We kept her deadlift in that she's been doing very, very recently because her deadlift is actually something she's had massive progress on, has been very consistent and given her a really good strength marker. A lot of other exercises, there's been like pains in the hand, pains in the shoulder, pains in the hips. So we've had to work around this, but the deadlift has been consistent. So we're going to keep this on for another period of time because it helps with that. But then the most important thing from here, so we kind of talked about, 3 days a week, what we're going to do. She picked a few exercises that she wanted to do. So she likes a lot of pull downs and stuff like that and rowing based exercises. I talked about maybe kind of changing out kind of dumbbell bench press and shoulder press because we've been using those a lot recently. And in our one-to-one sessions, we were doing ring push-ups because we're working on kind of getting our shoulders to move forward and backwards around a rib cage, which is really good for our shoulder health. So I kind of suggest the idea of maybe do some push-up style work again to allow the shoulders to freely move, improve the health of her body. Because again, when we're getting older, as much as strength is important, the way our body moves in relation to itself is just as important. So here, it's kind of like, what do you enjoy? What makes you feel badass, strong, and fucking get after it in the gym? But also, here's some stuff to look after you and make sure you're healthy. And because of her hip problems, for example, she's had a bit of knee pains now recently because the muscles across the thigh are not used to being stretched in single leg positions. So when she does split squats, there's always a bit of a stretching pain during it. So we've been doing like sissy squat holds. If you don't know what a sissy squat is, essentially a sissy squat is, maybe attach a video of it, actually. I'll see if I can show you on the video here. So I'm actually going to try and share my screen. So for anyone who's actually watching this instead of listening to it, right, you might be able to see it. So let's see if this works, because it probably won't work. So what I've got on screen here is basically a dude, basically. I would usually do this next to a squat rack, essentially, with your arms to support you. But essentially what you do is your body starts in a straight line, and you just push your knees out in front of you, like so, and you're on your tippy toes. The main thing here is that your hip and your knee are in a straight line, and you're just driving your knees forward. The idea is that the knee gets a lot of stress because this muscle from the hip to knee is kind of stretched really heavily. I know for people obviously listen to this, it's hard to see. If you can, have a little watch at this point in time. So we're about 10 minutes into the video here. So we do little holds in that position. So I'm going to stop sharing that now. So we do little holds in that position at the bottom to expose their knee to that stress, which gives it a pain relief effect, which is actually a bit of science, but is actually helping her deal with that tolerance and load through the knee and through the tendon. And basically it's allowed her to now do more split squat related work whilst being pain free. So again, what you want, a bit of what you enjoy, what you need to keep you healthy. And that's how we built the plan. And I'm going to construct that later this week for her, because I've got all the details here. The next bit is, so there's a bit on my app called the lifestyle section, very, very simple. The lifestyle section with the app is basically where we control things like steps, calories, nutrition, all those sorts of bits. For her, she has always been someone who's been super dependent on calories, not because she has to, but because it gives her control and makes her feel secure. But she is too busy, realistically, to constantly do it. And she does not need the calories to escape calorie tracking anymore. She knows what's in her food. She's very consistent. And I said to her, I was like, what are you trying at the moment? She's like, I'm actually just trying to improve my lunch. I was like, right, how about we do this real simple thing? Because if you pick one behavior and improve that for a week, it's easier than add something on top of that. And essentially all she is doing, she's improving her lunches by trying to do chicken wraps, tuna wraps, and having a wrap. She likes to keep things consistent and change the fillings. And I just gave her 3 simple questions, basically, like, to think about how mindful she is when she's eating. So again, did she have any successes with her food that day? That specifically that meal or that day? Did she have any barriers or struggles? And then how did she feel overall not tracking? And the idea is just to get her thinking about how she felt around her food that day. There's no right and wrong answer here, but it's making her more aware of her choices. Basically, did she do the lunch she expected? Did she feel hungry? Did she not feel hungry? Those sorts of things. And the idea of this is it's basically to see if there's any key patterns that happen when she potentially maybe has a wee bit of extra food and she feels out of control. And we notice these things going back and forth. Bit of a drink there quickly. So we did that. And that's the first time we've done a lifestyle bit outside of steps in a long while for her, because it hasn't suited her lifestyle and it would add more stress. The stress right now is keeping her training, because she wasn't feeling comfortable training for a while because of so many injuries and aches and pains. The joys of getting older. So that's what we did. And again, we just changed her training to online. And this is why I truly believe online training actually, again, I do both. I truly believe online training is the best form of training. There is no tied into a schedule. There is no dependency on the coach to change everything there and then for you. I always explain this like a child being educated. If you constantly tell a child what to do and correct them, they will never learn themselves. If you give them space to explore and then give you feedback and then you coach later on, the learning is deeper and more attainable and maintained over time. It's been shown time and time again in kids. It's been shown time and time again in adults. I live it through my coaching. It's why it's different. So look, that's just a quick story of like how one of my clients changed her routine to fit her and how we work that together. But what I'm actually going to give you is, like I said, 4 distinct training templates to help you with that. Because at the end of the day, you need to just adapt. Whether this is nutrition, whether this is training, you need to adapt. There's no point going from fully tracking calories to doing nothing. It's like, right, there's no tracking calories, there's fully tracking calories. What's in between it? Are you eating 3 meals each day with protein in it? Are you thinking of doing hand portioning? Are you thinking of just tracking your protein? There are so many steps in between no tracking and full tracking that it's wild that we just quit straight away. So I'm going to go more into the training now side of things and the 4 training methods I use. And these are all really simple ones and ones I find are very, very effective. Okay, so if you can't get to the gym, this first one will work well for you. Actually, before I even say that, I'm going to caveat this because this is actually the point I wanted to make. One of the biggest issues that people make when they train at home or they're training without much time is they make it a glorified circuit. We are not doing circuit training here, okay? I don't mind circuit training, it has its place. But if you're looking to get stronger, circuit training sucks. If you're looking to get fitter, properly fitter, and improve your cardio, circuit training's not that good. It's kind of like a measly mix of both of average and shite. It's not great at either. It's kind of like the one that's that old jack of all trades, master of none. It's kind of that. It's okay. But if you truly want to get anything from it, like you want to shape and tone, you want to build muscle, you want to lose fat, it's kind of not that good. It's nice if you want to feel like you're working, and it's why a lot of coaches will do a finisher, because it's like, oh, look, she's broke a sweat. She now feels like she's done something. It's like, yeah, you could just tell them that the truth and then be like, if they like that, that's fine. But if they don't, why are you lying to them? Anyway, that's just me being a bit asked to coaches. Anyway, so we need to avoid it just being pure cardio. We still need to be training for like things like strength training. I need to stop hitting my microphone. We need to be training for things like strength training where we're actually still doing reps close to failure, not because you're exhausted in your heart rate, but because your legs might fail or your arms might fail when you're doing a curl, for example. We need to do things like that. So this one can work at home if you have the right weights for it. I always recommend people these days, by the way, to get those like adjustable weights rather than buying lots of individual weights, right? I don't talk about those little cheap £20 sets in the gym. I know everyone's money is different here, by the way. I'm not telling you to be, I'm a fucking elitist with money here. I don't have money falling out my ass. But I always say, I think they used to call Bowflex, didn't they? But you can now get all different brands of them. But basically, it's like one dumbbell, which you just turn this clicker on the side and it can adjust. You can get ones that go from 2 kilo to 20 kilo, which is like the base one. You can get them for like 100 quid. Or if you're the really fancy pants, you can get ones that go up to 45 kilo. They're like 250 quid. But that's one dumbbell. You just pop it in, change it, boom. So quick, so easy, so versatile, fantastic. And I generally think it's an absolute home hack if you need to do this at home, rather than having those fucking dumbbells that are like Jesus Christ. I know if that's all you've got and that's all you can work with, we can make something work with that. And like, this is the thing, you can always make something work. But if you have a choice, they're not the option. Anyway, dumbbell workouts, that's my first option. It sounds really stupid, but dumbbell workouts are so super good for this, because dumbbell workouts need less of a warm-up. Like, you can do a simple warm-up for 2 minutes and then go straight into your exercises with your dumbbells. Even if you're someone who's super strong, so like I'm not super strong, right? But even if I can goblet squat 40 kilos, right, I maybe only need a warm-up at 25 or 30 to feel able to do a goblet squat for 40. Unlike a barbell where you might have to do bar set, add some 5s, add some 10s, add some 20s, and then you're there. It's so much setup for a barbell in comparison. So what I like to recommend here is like kind of a supersets method, but have one exercise that's isolated on its own at the beginning. So you're going to do 5 exercises. The first exercise, I'm going to just give you an example program here. The first exercise is a dumbbell RDL. Pick 2 heavy dumbbells for relative to your weight. Do everything here between 8 to 15 reps. More reps isn't always better, but basically if you can't lift it for 8, it's too heavy. If you lift it for 15, it's too light. The idea here is this RDL is the one you're actually going to treat like a proper strength set. So load this up, make it stronger, see how well you can do it. Do that, rest for 90 seconds, and off you go again. Do 3 sets of that with the RDL. The next one, you're going to do dumbbell bench or floor press if you don't have a bench at home. Again, this can be done in the gym, by the way. Dumbbell bench, and then 3-point row. That's a superset. So dumbbell bench, lying on your back, pressing 2 dumbbells over your shoulders, and then 3-point row where you've got a hand and a knee on the bench, and then you're doing the row from that position. Again, very, very simple. 2 exercises where you don't have to move from the bench. You just get 2 sets of dumbbells, boom, done. Do both exercise A, so the bench press first, then the row second, then rest for 90 seconds, go bang, bang, rest 90 seconds, bang, bang, rest 90 seconds. Very, very simple there. Then one more superset, because we're doing 5 exercises here in total. I put dumbbell front squat, where you basically have 2 dumbbells on your shoulders like so, and you're squatting all the way down with it. If you want, pop a heel lift underneath. It makes it easier and more comfortable on the spine. And then lateral raise, where you bring the dumbbells out to the side. Again, start with the front squat, then do the seat, and then do your lateral raise, and then we'll be leaving at that. So once you've done these 5, that is plenty for most people, right? But then I always offer the added extra part at the end. So the added extra is basically, if you want to do a little bit of core work, a little bit of arm work, feel free to fire that in. So here I've added a bonus superset of feet anchored sit-ups, where you anchor your feet under a weight or a door or something, or seated curls. And I've just put one of those, again, same template. Again, with the dumbbell workouts, the idea is that less warm-up needed. It's very stable, very quick to set up, very quick to transition between them. And it's just really super, again, really good for at home and really good for at the gym as well. So that's my first method. The second method is the video that I actually made 5 years ago, and I actually will put it in the show notes if I remember to do so. It's actually quite a funny one. I'll maybe put some Instagram stuff on for it. I might actually do a reaction to this video. There's actually quite a few, because I started making videos 9 years ago. That is terrifying. But yes, the next method is called escalated density training. Fancy way of saying the words EDT. It sounds like a drug. It's not, I promise. This one was actually something I stole. I remember listening to a podcast about it, tried it, and I was like, fuck, this is great. And the idea is basically you have a timer, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you can manage. It tends to be for really short training sessions. Do a tiny warm up, okay, obviously at the start, and you've got to pick 2 non-competing exercises. What I mean by non-competing is exercises that don't interfere with each other in terms of fatigue or the muscles working. So, for example, I would not do a squat into a lunge. They both do the thighs, and you'd be absolutely bollocks. And also the volume for your legs, you wouldn't be able to walk the next day. That's the problem. So what I would do is an exercise like a squat and a chin up, okay? A bench press and a lunge. You know, they're a couple of examples I would use. Exercises that are completely opposite. So typically it's usually an upper body and a lower body. On the lower body, I don't do front and back because they tend to be involved with each other. So I wouldn't do a squat and an RDL. That's quite brutal. But I would be happy to do chest press and a row, for example. It's just a little bit different because the size of the muscles as well in the legs, they tend to demand more of a cardiovascular response. So your heart rate comes out your chest. If you've ever done more than 5 reps of squats, you'll know you start to breathe very heavily. Whereas you're a dumbbell bench press, that's not exactly the case. So pick a timer, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Pick 2 lifts. And weights-wise, what you're going to use what is a 10 rep max. So for a squat, if you can squat 40 kilos for 10 reps. Okay, that's not a unheard of number because again, this stuff can be done with barbells. It's very good with barbells. You can do this with dumbbells as well, but I like to do this with barbells to get actual strength benefits from this one. So you're going to do 40 kilos with your 10 RM on your squat, okay? And then maybe your chin up, you need a green band to hit 10 reps. Fantastic. What you then do is you halve the reps. So it's a 10 RM weight, but you only do 5 reps of each. So I do 5 reps with the 40 kilos or 5 reps with the green band, which sounds like it'll be way too easy. And it will be for the first 5 minutes. But the whole point of this is it's very condensed. It's very dense, hence why it's called escalated density training. So in your timer, let's say 10 minutes, I've got the 2 exercises and I do 5 reps each. I do 5 rep squats. I do 5 rep chins. I can go straight back to squats if I want to, or I can rest. You rest as required, okay? But the aim is to do as many sets as possible within your timer, okay? Again, it sounds like cardio, but it shouldn't be because you're going upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body. And I'm encouraging you to rest, okay? People feel like, oh, if I don't rest, I won't do it. You'll find very quickly that the reps will go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but if you're not rested. So I do advise you to have at least 45 seconds at the end of one set, up to at least a minute. I would say usually a minute. As you get more tired, you'll probably need more. If you're doing it, for example, say for 15 minutes, right, and you're like 10 minutes in and you're struggling to get 5 reps anymore, which is very common, I would then just bring it down to 4 reps, bring it down to 3 reps. If it gets lower than 3, I'd probably stop it by that point. But yeah, that's the way you do it. So pick a timer, 2 exercises that can go well back to back. Use the 10 rep max weight, but halve it to only do 5 reps. So 40 kilos for 10 reps, I'll just do 5 reps that instead. And then you do as many sets as possible and rest in as required. It gets tiring very quickly. Do not let this one surprise you. It gets tiring very, very quickly. I wouldn't sleep on it. I did this with squats and chin-ups before. My arms felt like they're going to fucking blow up. And my legs the next day were very, very heavy. But again, this method is very good for doing, if you want to do a daily session or like every other day session, like you got 30 minutes every other day, fantastic. This is a brilliant way of doing it. Just rotate the exercises and see how that works for you. Number 3, so the 3 times 10-minute AMRAPs. The reason I say 10 minutes is that it's a nice number and you tend to get a good amount of work in each 10-minute AMRAP, okay? So if you don't know what an AMRAP is, an AMRAP is as many reps as possible or as many rounds as possible. And as it says in the name, 3 times 10 minutes. So you're going to have a 10-minute AMRAP and then you're going to have a break of 2 minutes. Another 10-minute AMRAP, then a 2-minute break, and then a final 10-minute AMRAP. In each of those individual AMRAP is different exercises, okay? So in each AMRAP, I like to do 3 exercises. I like to do an upper body, I like to do a lower body, and I like to do an accessory. So an upper body, let's do lower body first. A lower body, let's do something a little bit different. Well, I've used a lot of different ones, but okay, let's go goblet squat. We'll go goblet squat this time. So we'll do a goblet squat for a lower body, okay? Again, anywhere between 8 and 15 reps. Upper body, we're going to go with a shoulder press, a standing shoulder press, just above the head. Nice and simple. Really, really, really simple. Then your accessory could be anything you want. That could be calves, that can be glutes, that can be shoulders, that can be anything like that. So let's just say this person wanted a bit of calf work. They could do single leg calf raises on a step, 8 to 15 reps. Okay. I say double ones actually on that one because it's more time efficient. So do double leg calf raises in that one, 8 to 15 reps. So goblet squat, shoulder press, calf raise. They do as many reps as possible within 10 minutes. Okay. I know it sounds very, very similar to the one prior, but it's a little bit different in the way it's done. This one is a little bit less strength based. The other one is more encouraged to be a strength workout. This one is going to have strength one. This one's going to be more about managing fatigue though. So it's going to be closer to your circuits, but it's not be as reflective as a circuit. Again, you're not just doing exercises like thrusters, burpees, box jumps. We're looking for lifts that actually encourage you to build strength and muscle, because that is what underpins toning. Again, if you don't know what toning is at this point, it's built muscle whilst losing body fat. That's what toned muscle looks like. So anyone who has toned arms, ladies, they've got good muscle under it and they've lost body fat. We all just lose body fat in different places differently. So that 3 times 10-minute one, like I said, it's 10 minutes of the first AMRAP. You take 2 minutes rest, and then you do the next 10-minute AMRAP. Again, change the exercises. It might be a lateral lunge. Let's go with something different. A bent over row, and then a sit up, for example. Then again, you do that for 10 minutes, so on and so forth. Really, really simple. Again, really effective, really useful to use. The last one is actually a case study for one of my clients. So one of my last clients, I call her Mrs. I everywhere on my emails and my social medias. She's actually just finished up with me. You might have seen the quote she left on there on my Instagram the other day, where she was like, I finally feel I can do this on my own. And she even said the phrase like, you've actually saved me from all the overwhelm and just feeling like she'll never shift this weight. I love to work with this woman. I really, really enjoyed working with this woman. Like, we started working together just at the beginning of February, and her weight loss journey, she did fucking amazing. And at times it felt like she wasn't, because the weight wasn't shifting as fast as she liked. But this woman proved the point of surfing the wave of discomfort. She learned how to sit in it. She learned how to talk through how she's feeling. She learned how to deal with the spirals of where the scales didn't move or the scales moved up by a pound. So she jumped on the Mount Gyro websites and wanted to do this. It's like she did everything there. And I would love to get on this podcast to discuss this, because she's a fascinating woman. Ordinary by day, but in terms of what she went through, it's very common, but not many women see what real weight loss is like as you get older, particularly. So I really would love for you to see how she did it, because it's a fantastic one. But I actually think my cat's going to fucking ask to get out again. She did this in last week's podcast as well. So this one is a client case study. This client who I'm talking about, so she used to get in for a 6 a.m. session at local gym, and she would only have 35 to 40 minutes to do what she had to do. Okay, I've re-recorded that bit just because the kids had to walk in there because I got a phone call from my partner just during that. So this is a case study of basically how my client did it. So she would go to the gym at 6 a.m. at a local gym, and she would have 35 to 40 minutes to get back to work, to get ready to go to work for 8 o'clock in the morning. That probably doesn't sound too far removed from what some of you might be doing for yourself as well. So this could be something of interest. This is not groundbreaking, but this is just using machines and kit in the gym to kind of manipulate how long it takes to warm up, how long it takes to do the work, and how easy it is to set up in the first place. And we did a really simple thing. Again, very similar to how I did the dumbbells. We used machines only on this one, right? Mainly because, one, it made her feel comfortable, and two, she didn't have to worry about whether she was doing it as well in terms of being correct or not. Machines, even if you don't do them very well, you can still do them decently. But obviously, I'd review how she did them anyway. So we would pick one major exercise at the top. Usually, it was her leg press. Okay. After that, we would have an upper body pair as possible. And I always wrote in it, if able, superset them. So, for example, one of them was chest press machine paired with a seated row, cable row. Okay. In our gym, at certain times, the gym culture is actually that they don't mind just supersetting. I know pure gyms and stuff like that is a little bit different because it's fucking hectic. But if your gym allows it, superset it. And even if someone takes the kit, just carry on using the kit you're using. You know, you got one piece of kit to use. But if she couldn't superset it, that's no big deal. She just did 3 sets, usually again between the 8 to 15 range. Leg press, upper body chest press, and then seated cable row. And then she usually do one more lower body one, so usually like a hamstring curl, prone or seated. And then based on where she was at with that, it would usually be a little bit of cardio at the end of finish. So an incline walk, flat walk, cycle, anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes. And again, it was dependent on what she did. If she had less time, the walk / cardio had to be more intense. She had to get a bit of a puff on. If she had 15 minutes, she had to go at a comfortably uncomfortable pace where she could still talk, but she felt like she was getting a little bit of a puff and a bit of a sweat on. She only did this twice a week, by the way. And I'm just telling you that. This lady lost 12 pounds, okay? And I cannot quote you how many inches she lost, but I know she lost about 40 odd, 50 odd centimeters off her body in the time we worked together. Whilst, this is the big detail here, whilst still going out on weekends for like dinners and lunch in Belfast with her family, whilst enjoying nights out for families, not families, for work do 30s and 50ths, and whilst enjoying her and her husband's birthday, which is nearly back to back, whilst having the stressful 2-week period over Easter where there's more chaos because the kids are always in the house and stuff like that. There are so many things she had going on, which she could have easily let kind of like ruin her progress, but she didn't. There was periods where she learned what true maintenance of your weight is. Maintenance is not static. It is a small fluctuation of your weight, usually of a kilo to 2 kilos either side or a couple of pounds either side. And she learned this. Could she have lost more weight? Absolutely. And I always phrase it this way: at what cost? She could have lost double the amount of weight probably had she not gone out for any drinks. Her family, who were going through health kind of like, I think, crisis, health conditions, right? When they would celebrate those, and when there was small successes during that, she could have avoided that. She could have said no to a bun here and there. She could have said no to the takeout. She could have said no to that. She didn't take the piss. She included some of them, but she made an active choice to do so. And that's one of the things we constantly trained her into doing. You are allowed what you want, but you have to think about the steps prior to getting there. And again, we have a framework to do that. Again, very, very simple. I've mentioned it before in previous podcasts. Am I going to enjoy this? Yes or no? And you're not guilty if you are going to enjoy this. Number 2, are you hungry or are you just craving something? And again, people think cravings are bad things. They're not. They're natural. They're natural. You're a human being. They are very common, normal hormonal responses to people and psychological responses. We want food because it comforts us. It makes us feel good. We enjoy it. So just because you acknowledge it as a craving doesn't make it bad. But it's also saying this is a craving, which gives you time and space between that craving. And it's an acknowledgement of your thoughts. Your thoughts aren't facts, by the way. They are just thoughts, and the same with your feelings. Then you think about how you feel afterwards. The majority of women listening will be like, well, I feel like shit if I ate that. Okay. That 9 times out of 10 will work on, because it's like, are you feeling like shit because you've trained yourself that way, or would you actually feel shit for eating it? Or would you actually feel better for just having a wee bit of something you want and then just moving on with your life? Again, that takes repetition, practicing. And the reason I know that is because it comes from a kind of counseling background, like a CBT style background. I spent over 2 years in counseling. I know how hard it is to do the reps, because people think with things like counseling, you just go there and you're healed. No, they're a driving instructor. They just help you not crash. And when you do crash, they can look after you. Basically, you do all the work. It's the same with your food. It's the same with your cravings. It's the same with your gym. All of these things that have held you back for years, it is all down to the work you put in. So look, there's 4 templates right there of how to train. Some that could take as little as 10 minutes, some that could take as more as 35 minutes, but still less than the average hour. Yes, add your travel time. I get that. If you need to do it from home, go ahead. But I know even that could feel like a stretch. It's not easy. Like, I'm trying to record this podcast. There's 3 kids in the house at the moment, right? 2 teenagers, 1 young one. My partner's away at an appointment at the moment. This is not ideal. I'm going to accept this podcast may not be the cleanest. I may lose my trail of thought. My brain might forget the point. I might have pressed pause a million times. I have done everything I can to be prepared right now, and I can only control the controllables. I could put this off altogether if I wanted to, and that would be okay if I made that choice. But no one is making me make that choice. Only I am. I choose that. So I acknowledge it can feel overwhelming to still do something when you're super busy. Tell yourself and remember that this is not permanent. This is a 6 to 12 week period of your life, depending on how long your kids have off. This is a 6 to 12 period of your life. And your job here is not to make progress. Your job here is to stop yourself falling off. But by doing that, you automatically make progress, because the old you would have fallen off, would have given up, and would have stopped. By doing any one of these, by engaging and trying something and still failing, you don't fail when you try something new that's trying to solve a problem, by the way. You just know if it's the right answer or not. You are making the best choice for you and doing the best actions to look after yourself, even if it's not perfect. I've said it time and time again, we fucking love average around here. 1 to 2 structured sessions a week will work. 10, 30 minutes, whatever. It ain't perfect. just do something to keep yourself active and moving. All right. Again, that client I just spoke to you about there, Mrs. I, she only did 2 sessions a week, 30 to 40 minutes a week, and made all the progress she did. Just think about how much can you maintain during all this chaos. And then once this chaos goes, because in September, I've always said this, by the way, in September, personal trainers love it. Women always come back and men always come back after the kids are off school. I'm like, it's time to get up, look after me again. Usually because they're looking towards Christmas or they're like, thank fuck, get the kids out the door. All you've got to do is survive. It's like the apocalypse in here, isn't it? But all you got to do is survive. Keep momentum going, except some weeks are going to be shit, some weeks are going to be good. Even in the best training, when you have the kids off school, you're still going to have shit days. So why would you stop having shit days now? Do you know what I mean? Got to be real about this. So I know this is hard, and you can keep going in the summer. Just remember, flexibility is your friend, and you're not a failure for trying something new. And I urge you to try any of these 4 strategies. If I haven't explained them very well, feel free to drop a comment in here, DM me on Instagram. I'll always help you, and it'll be a simple thing that I can answer back to you. But the one thing I want to leave at the end of this episode, as I promised, there's a wee bonus at the end of this episode. My next 6-week challenge starts July 14th, okay? And if you don't know how my model of coaching works, is my 6-week challenge is not a 6-week shred. I don't believe in shreds. My 6-week challenge, though, is to prove that you can lose weight, that you can make changes, that you can do this no matter how busy you are, how tired you are, how stressed you are, because you're going to have a coach who actually listens to all those problems, validates those problems, and then makes a customized solution to address each of those problems and make a plan suit you. I described it with I described it with Mrs. I just then. I described it with my client Kirsty at the beginning. Everyone's program and everyone's situation and attack is different. This is what we do in the 6 weeks. But the point of the 6 weeks is this. You've been scorned before. You've been hurt before. This 6 week is to prove myself to you that I can help you and I can get you results no matter what situation you're in. Okay? That's why it's as short as 6 weeks. You are not going to make life-changing changes in that time. Okay? You're not going to change your entire 10 years of eating issues in 6 weeks. No, but you're going to get the motivational boost because motivation comes from taking action, seeing results. You're going to get that boost right there. And that boost is going to fuel you to keep doing it. That's why the average life of my client after the 6-week challenge is 6 months. Okay? Everyone stays on afterwards because they believe in it so much. And I believe in it so much that I offer a money back guarantee. If you don't lose weight or you're not happy at all, you can have your money back, no questions asked, because I genuinely believe that you will find no better coach than me. People say they're the best in the world. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world. I'm saying I'm the best for you, though, because I know the struggles women go through. I work with them every single day, and I've built the program around this, and I've built my coaching style around this to work with women because I understand what they want and what they need. It's mad hearing a man actually says that because most men in this world do not fucking get that. So yeah, if you've listened all the way through, you can save 50 quid by just DM me the word. What am I going to use the word for this? DM me the word pod, like podcast, like POD. DM me the word pod or drop the word pod underneath in the comments. And then basically we'll get that sorted. That can save you £50 on your sign up to the 6-week challenge. Again, you don't have to sign up, but it's to secure your saving that if you choose to use it, you can have it. It's only valid on this challenge. And you can also pass this on to a friend. If you pass this on to a friend, tell them to comment the word, they can also gain £50 as well. And there'll be a special bonus for you just on extra on top of that, which I'll mention at a later date. But look, thank you very much for listening to this. If you've been listening to this while your kid's been hiding in the bathroom, you're the kind of person I'm going to be working with. I know summer's going to look messy. I know you might feel like it's going to be a failure, but look, I've had to do this with all the craziness going on in my house. But for now, I'll leave you there. I've waffled in your ear for nearly 40 minutes. I'm Callum. I'll see you next week. Maybe with a bit of a extra stress marks on my face, but I'll catch you soon, guys.